Hello everybody, and welcome to Yoshi1 Kenobi's Niambi Esteemed Speaker Containment Priest Flicker to Oblivion deck for MTG Arena Standard. With core set 2021 All-Star Containment Priest. Now this thing is a 2/2 flash creature. If a non-token creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile it instead. Then this is the card we're going to be centering our deck around. And well, first off, this is a very cool card, artwork-wise. It's a wizard imprisoning something within that containment ball. We have another card with a similar artwork, namely the Deputy of Detention, who's just putting something in that ball of detention. And both cards synergize very well together. So if Deputy of Detention exiles a creature an opponent control, and then Deputy of Detention leaves the battlefield, well, if you have Containment Priest in play, those creatures just go back into exile because they would enter the battlefield without being cast. So if we can get a Containment Priest and a Deputy of Detention in play and bounce our Deputy of Detention back into our hand, then our opponent simply loses the creatures, and we've had a free exile target creature and everything of the same name for 3 mana off of the Deputy, which is really powerful. Now we do need to be careful not to flicker our Deputy of Detention, because if we do that, then our Deputy is not going to enter the battlefield, the Containment Priest's effect being symmetrical. So how do we bounce our Deputy of Detention? Well, Niambi Esteemed Speaker is a prime candidate. So it's a 2/1 flash creature. When it enters the battlefield, you may bounce a creature you control to your hand, and if you do, you gain life equal to the creature's converted mana cost. So that's how we bounce our creatures back into our hand, namely the Deputy of Detention, or potentially Yorion. So it's quite a nice ability on a decently bodied 2-drop, which also has the 3 mana ability to discard a legendary card to draw 2 cards, which is quite relevant in a deck with Baron, with Niambi, with Yorion. We have a fair bit of legendary cards, and that card draw ends up being a net +1. So it's like if you have a divination on a stick, which is pretty good. Next, we have Baron Tolarian Archmage. When it enters the battlefield, you can bounce a creature planeswalker anybody controls. And at the beginning of your end step, if a permanent was put into your hand from the battlefield this turn, draw a card. Which is pretty good, because we do want to bounce some of our stuff. And that's not just if Baron bounces something. If you bounce something with Niambi, and you have a Baron in play, you satisfy the condition and you get to draw a card. It also means that you can have a very nice Baron Niambi loop, where if you start the turn with Baron on battlefield, you cast Niambi, bounce Baron back into your hand, gain 3 life, because its converted mana cost is 3. Cast Baron again, bounce Niambi into your hand. At the end of that turn, you will draw a card. So you basically have a cycle that costs you 5 mana and is going to gain you 3 life and draw a card, which is very useful to just wait out on some of these slower aggressive opponents and draw to the cards that you actually need. So let's look at the rest of the deck. We play Flicker of Fate, which allows us to, well, flicker something. And when we have Containment Priest in play, it simply means exile target creature your opponent control at instant speed for 2 mana. There is no removal that is just as powerful. This is, well, I guess it's a 2 mana path to exile where your opponent doesn't gain life. Extremely powerful. It's also versatile because if you don't have Containment Priest in play, you can bounce your own stuff. In particular, you can bounce enchantments. So you can do stuff like bounce a Prison Realm, exile another creature. It's a very versatile spell and it fits the theme of our deck. We play 4 copies of Glass Casket, exile-based removal, 4 copies of Omen of the Sea, which we can also flicker with Flicker of the Fate. We play 3 copies of Prison Realm, 2 copies of Elspeth Conquers Debt, because that card is just so powerful, and 4 copies of Yorion Sky Nomad. Now Yorion has a very nice synergy with Containment Priest, and also be careful. So when you cast Yorion, what you want to exile is your Elspeth Conquers that, your Prison Realm, your Glass Casket, your Omens of the Sea, because your opponent doesn't get back the creatures that were exiled with the Glass Casket or the Prison Realm, as long as you have your Containment Priest in play. So you get to cast Yorion and reuse these removal spells, reuse the draw spell for free, and often it's a very backbreaking experience for your opponent. You do need to be careful not to bounce your creatures while you have Containment Priest in play, because they're not going to come back. Again, because Containment Priest is symmetric, so you want to be careful about that. But if you don't have the Containment Priest, then it's free game to bounce your Baron, your Deputy of Detention, for more value. So overall, this deck tries to flicker your opponent's stuff into Oblivion, because you have your Containment Priest, and bounce your own stuff into your hand so you can replay it again, get more value. And there's a lot of cool tricks and synergies. This deck's actually fairly decent for a bunch of cards that rarely see play. Well, okay, about half the deck sees play fairly often, but this trio of cards is quite potent. So why don't we find out in a couple of games? We are playing Niambi Esteemed Speaker, Containment Priest Flicker to Oblivion against PO on MTG Arena Standard for Core Set 2021. We have a slightly awkward hand here, but we're going to keep this. We have a pair of Scrylands and Omen of the Sea, which should be plenty of fixin'. And we have already 2 Barons in hand, so that'll be enough. Archfiend's Vessel. Our opponent's not abandoning the sacrifice team, even though the Kitty of Doom is now on the ban list. Let's cast our Omen of the Sea while we have time. That's fine. Let's put a Deputy on the bottom. Have to discard a card. Let's discard Temple of Enlightenment. Let's just banish that Archfiend's Vessel, so it never bothers us again. Niambi, that's pretty good. Now if our opponent could stop playing rats, that would be great. Yeah, I'll discard Baron. Archfiend's Vessel. We take 1. We cast Baron, Tolarian Archmage, and bounce the Archfiend's Vessel. And we're playing a game of 1-1s versus 2-2s. Yeah, we'll block a rat. Archfiend Vessel. Back again. Serrated Scorpion, another Archfiend's Vessel. Okay, so our opponent has them all. Okay. Let's play this. Cast Niambi. Bounce Baron. Cast Baron. Bounce Niambi. And we have a draw card loop. And a blocker. And we also gain some life every time. Let's block the Burglar Rat. Castle Lockvein. Also a way to draw cards every turn. It's not as cool as our way. Let's do the dance again. Bounce Niambi. Draw card. I want to avoid killing these Archfiend's vessels. So we do the Scorpion once more. And Castle Lockbait. Pay 2. Alright. Land. Attack with Baron. Bounce Baron. Gain 2 life. Bounce Niambi. And end the turn. Draw card. Heavy Flicker Fate. Opponent attacks. We block the Scorpion. Seems like a deja vu. We get drained for 2. Burglar Rat, don't care. We already have a bit too many lands. Although you can never really have too many lands. Call of the Dead Dweller. To bring back a rat. Alright. Actually, let's draw a card. Flicker Fade the Omen of the Sea. Let's see what's coming up. Deputy of Detention. Elspeth Conquers Death. Not very good. This card we don't want to draw. So let's draw it and discard it. Now we have our Deputy. But if we do that, we don't have enough mana for our Baron combo. Let's bounce our Baron. Gain some life. Yeah, I think I value drawing a little bit more. Move to end step. Draw a card. More flickering. Now, if we can draw a Containment Priest, we are golden here. It's the only thing we're missing. Because then we can start playing our Deputy of Detention, flickering it, and just wiping out all our opponent's cards. Let's block the Burglar Rat. We'll take 4. Which is alright. Opponent activates a castle. Down 23. We'll play the Niambi now. Balancing Baron back. Gaining 2 life. Oh, it's mana cost. It's 3 life. Baron. Bounce back Niambi. Deputy of Detention. Exile the Archfiend's vessels. Draw a card. Yarak Fenlurker. Exiling a Flicker Fate. Opponent has so many small, useless threats that our Prison Realm isn't the best here. Spark Harvest. Alright, so our opponent decided to kill our Baron. Unfortunately, we didn't have the mana to cast that Plains. Spark Harvest on the Deputy. Alright, so our opponent is now empty-handed. Let's get that Almond of the Sea. Flicker it, aiming for Containment Priest. Or a pair of Deputy of Detentions. One's enough. Cast the Deputy. Take away the Archfiend's vessels. And pass the turn. Priest of Forgotten Gods. Now that's gonna be a good Prison Realm target. That's fine. Our turn. Containment Priest. Alright, now we're talking. So let's go for the maximized value plan. Prison Realm to Containment Priest. A land's not what we're looking for. Pass the turn. Alright, get her bones. Call the Dead Dweller on the Fenlurker and the Scorpion. You'll have to exile a card. Which is going to be the Flicker of Fate, I think. Or Niambi. I think Niambi's done its work. Yeah, Niambi. We will get to wipe out our opponent's board, which is quite nice. So, flash into Containment Priest. Go to block the Burglar Rat with the Deputy of Detention. Flicker of Fate. Oh no, because if I do that on my Deputy of Detention, then it's not coming back. Yeah, I'll just flicker it with Yorion. Alright. And now it's time for the big Yorion turn. Yorion, Sky Nomad. So I want to exile these things. If I exile the Deputy, it's not going to come back though. So I did want to keep the Niambi, because I wanted to bounce stuff in my hand. If I exile the Containment Priest... No, I'm just going to do this. Let's save. These cards don't come back. We'll pass the turn back. So you get to exile Death Touch Scorpions or Gutterbones. Gutterbones isn't scary. That thing has Menace. These two guys have Death. I'll kill the Death Touch one. Then we'll exile the Fenlurker. Now, of course, they didn't come back from the other Prison Realms because of our Containment Priest. And we'll draw the card off of our Almond of the Sea, drawing a second copy of Almond of the Sea. Then we'll pass a turn back. Opponent has a land, opponent will use Castle Lockbane to draw one more. Lurrus. Now that's not one I wanted to see. Opponent should not have good attack. We cast Almond of the Sea again. Alright. That should be game ending. Almond of the Sea. Draw Yorion. Discard land to the bottom. Attack with Yorion. And now we will get to Yorion yet again, exiling more stuff. And that is game. Our opponent sees the writing on the wall and the prison realms just keep on exiling. And that's how we beat a sacrifice deck. By exiling all their stuff. We are playing Niambi Esteemed Speaker, Containment Priest, Flicker to Oblivion against Morgrim on MTG Arena Standard for M21, or Core Set 2021. We have a pair of Containment Priests and a bunch of exile stuff. We're a little short on land, but we're on the draw, so we will keep this. As we can see, the Containment Priest and the Deputy of Detention just putting stuff in the bubble. They were made for each other. Actually, the Deputy of Detention is probably just a Veldekin Containment Priest. The art on that card is really cool. Let's see if we get to contain our Obosh opponent. So that should be an odd deck to play against. Blue-red. I wasn't expecting that. Oh, that's good. Let's start with our temple. Glass Casket, perfect. Well, good enough, I should say. Although we do have a pair of prison realms. Maybe I should be digging for lands at this point. Let's play an island and pass a turn back. We'll get a flash in a Containment Priest. The opponent looks to be playing Izzet. Izzet Obosh spells. With the Royal Scions. Draw a card, discard card.
What is my strategy here?
Phoenix? No, Phoenix costs 4. Do we want a Prison Realm? I probably do. Let's Prison Realm those Scions. Scrying a land to top, ideally. Oh, that's fine. And attacking for 2 with our Containment Priest. VIP MVP Awesome Star. Turn 4 Scorch Spitter. Not the scariest of cards. And a Bone Crusher Giant. Let's play our Temple of Enlightenment. Niambi, that's really good. And then we cast our Deputy of Detention. We'll take away that Bone Crushing Giant. And might as well attack for 2. Take the Beats aggro deck. Who's the real aggro deck now? It's Azorius aggro. With Niambi coming next turn, the Deputy of Detention is just so good. No blocks. You can Embercleave your Scorch Spitter if you want. No Embercleave. Our Containment Priest is getting Bone Crushed. Stormwing Entity. So opponent is starting to be fairly low on cards. Opponent can't Obosh next turn. So we could Containment Priest Niambi. We could Glass Casket Containment Priest. Or we can Prison Realm that Stormwind Entity. Prison Realm is kind of our best shot at dealing with Obosh though. So I think we just leave the Deputy there. We'll block the Scorch Spitter. If our opponent does anything fishy, we'll bounce it with Niambi. The next turn we're going to have a Containment Priest, Niambi, with the Deputy of Detention in hand. So that's perfect. Let's flash in our Containment Priest. And our opponent is simply going to lose the Bone Crusher Giant. So we get a free exile trigger off of that, which is awesome. I'll take 4 from the Stormwing entity. Since we have mana open, might as well play the second Containment Priest, making sure our opponent is fully contained. Castle Arvindale will allow us to go Deputy. Ionize. I didn't see that one coming. Oh, there's nothing we can do against Ionize. So Deputy will go down. That we get to Glass Casket, the Scorched Spitter. And hit you for 4. The Stormwing entity and Brazen Borrower is going to be a problem. Take 3. Our opponent is threatening the Brazen Borrower. No, actually more than threatening. Alright. That will work. We get to cast a Prison Realm, exiling the Stormwing entity. That's good. We attack for 4. And we pass the turn. Opponent casts Obosh. Obosh resolves. Opponent attacks with Brazen Borrower. We are going to exile that Brazen Borrower permanently. 2 mana instant, exile target creature or enchantment. Yes, sir. We will take that. Flicker of Fate. Obosh. You're going away. And we will swing for 4. Containment Priest not only giving us the ability to exile everything our opponent is playing, but also actually winning us the game by combat. And that's how it's done, is it? We exiled all your stuff and flickered it to oblivion. We are playing Niambi Esteemed Speaker, Containment Priest, Flicker to Oblivion against Grizzly Penguin on MTG Arena Standard for Core Set 2021. And we have a decent hand here. We have a pair of Containment Priests, 2 lands with a preferred 3, a Prison Realm, a Yorion, and a Niambi. So we have the 2 main cards of our deck. All we're missing is a Deputy of Detention, so we can exile stuff. But hey, Prison Realm Yorion also works. Opponent is playing green Stompy, presumably. Oh, we get a set of trap. People never expect the flash Containment Priest. Architral, resolve, move to attacks. Opponent doesn't fall for it. Flash in a Containment Priest anyways. Get rid of that Barkhydral. Scry card. Temple of Enlightenment will be good enough. As we're going towards that Yorion. Swing for 2. End the turn. Opponent will cast the Lovestruck Beast, maybe? Well, it's the only card we know about. Yorvo, Lord of Garenbrig. Let's scry. Second Yorion's really tempting. Yeah, let's keep the second Yorion. Prison Realm, exile Yorvo. The reason why we're keeping the second Yorion is because if we draw land on the next turn, then we get to spam Prison Realms like there's no tomorrow. If we don't, then we can use Niambi to cycle that Yorion into 2 new cards. It might be a teeny bit slow in the face of the Questing Beast. Everything has flash. Yeah, maybe I needed to actually go for land. We will not block, because we cannot. We will take 4. Questing Beast will enter the battlefield. And we will flash in some stuff. Flash in a Containment Priest. Flash in Niambi. Gain back 2 life. Well, they already had Niambi. Retrospect, that was a mistake. Discard a Yorion, draw 2. Play Castle Vantress. And pass the turn. Opponent casts Vivian, Aggro, Ranger. It's gonna turn out pretty well. Opponent will make the Questing Beast. Oh no. Counters. Counters and trampling. Opponent attacks. Flicker Fate, the Prison Realm, so we get a scry. Nah, I should have picked the other one, because Yorvo always comes back as dead. We get a Prison Realm. Well, we're going to Yorion next turn, so... Prison Realm, the Questing Beast. Maximize our hit points. Nah. Yorion, the Sky Nomad. Please the Prison Realms. Yeah. That's good enough. Move to end step. Oh, move to end step. Let's exile Vivian and the Questing Beast.
I will not go extinct.
Scry land to the bottom. Let's scry Glass Casket to the bottom. I think Baron's probably the best thing we can draw. Questing Beast comes back again. Yes, you will. We will trade Yorion for that. Niambi. Let's discard our Niambi to draw 2. Ooh, that's tasty. Swing for 2 with Containment Priest. Pass the turn. Opponent has nothing. And surrenders in the face of being flickered to oblivion. We are playing Niambi Esteemed Speaker Containment Priest Flicker to Oblivion on MTG Arena Standard against Overlord 21, and we have a pretty good starting hand, so we'll keep this. We have a Containment Priest, we also have Baron, Tolarian Archmage, a Glass Casket, and Yorion, Bouncer of Everything. I prefer to have an island instead of this plains. But other than that, it's pretty good. So I guess I would prefer Niambi instead of Yorion. Let's pass the turn. Opponent is playing some kind of green ramp. Let's cast our Containment Priest, making good use of our mana. There's nothing we can cast, so let's pass the turn. maybe he could have sneaked in an attack here. Opponents typically don't want to sacrifice the Paradise Druids, but I really care about the Containment Priest. Vito, Thorn of the Dusk Rose, is going to get Glass Casketed. Although, maybe I should go after the Druid. Yeah, let's go after the Paradise Druid. Take it while it's tapped. Now all we need is a little bit more mana. At least you don't get your Paradise Druid back. Power of Containment Priest against Gemraiser. Let's exile these friends, so we never have to see them again. I do want land. I want an island. Plains will have to do. Gets us closer to Yorion and Elspeth Conquers Death. Ooh, opponent's really going all in on those mutators. Alright, well there's not much we can do here. We're not swinging to that 3/5 lifelinker, that's for sure. Kinda want Elspeth Conquers that, but we don't have the mana yet. Paradise Druid number 2 enters the fray. Take the opportunity to cast the Containment Priest, and we draw the island we had been looking for. Alright. Let's cast Elspeth Conquers Death. It's always a strong play. Opponent probably wants to keep the Druid, so I'll swing with both Containment Priests. Oh yeah, our opponent's playing Mutate the Hexproof creature. We're still out there. At a relatively healthy 13 life. Let's see what our opponent's going to play. I feel Gemraiser, but we'll see. Auspicious Starix. Alright, well this is a clean, we bounce our stuff. Let's get rid of the targets under the Prison Realm as well. And get an extra scry. So we exile the Auspicious Starix, and our opponent resigns, because it's just too much exiling. That's what we do, we flicker stuff to Oblivion. We are playing Niambi Containment Priest against Sashiel II on MTG Arena Standard. We have a Niambi, but no Containment Priest. That's still decent. We have lands, we have a Glass Casket. What more can we ask for, other than a Containment Priest? Let's pass the turn. Opponent casts an Ogre of Bolus. I'll resolve. Opponent finds a Tassa's Intervention. We will take the opportunity to flash in Niambi. And we will pass the turn. We will probably discard that Yorion. Alright, the opponent plays a Frantic Inventory, because we need to draw lands. So we'll use that second ability to discard a legendary card to draw 2. We found the land, so we will cast it. Yeah, we do want that 5th land actually. Let's cast a Glass Casket. It's not like our opponent is going to be playing that many creatures. Looks like a flashy control type of deck. Their opponent is starved, so let's take advantage of that to pressure. Using our esteemed speaker. I'll pass the turn back. Opponent cycles in a shark. That's fine. And here comes the 4th land. Let's use Castle Arvindale. Make a 1/1. Alright, well. Let's get some scrying action. Prison Realm. We'll exile that permanently. And we scry an island to the bottom of our deck. Then we move on to combat. And we attack. Alright, we are going to Flicker of Fate our Prison Realm. Just so we get the extra scry when we kill that shark token. Just to keep the pressure on. And we'll scry that to the bottom as well. Opponent does get to draw the card. So we're 1 for zeroing ourselves here. Now we attack, probably do a Great Shark. Or nothing, and pass the turn. Draw spell maybe? What have you got, mono blue opponent? Ethos has intervention. Drawing a bunch of stuff. Passing back, our opponent holding a grip full of cards. But still only playing islands and wannabe islands that float in the sky. Well, we'll keep on the beats with Niambi and human tokens. Another Flicker of Fate's pretty good here. It's an instant speech removal against pretty much anything our opponent can cast. Brazen Borer the Glass Casket. Yeah, that resolves. You get to trigger your Augur. Probably should have done that before blocks. Brazen Borer comes in. And we are still passing our turn. Blast Zone. I'll take the damage. And we'll make a token. Castle Arvindale doing some real work here. So does Niambi actually. Now, what do we want to do here? Start by scrying. Our opponent's thinking really hard about letting us resolve our scry. Do we want another deputy? I don't think so. Alright, so we're no further than what we were. Let's just pass the turn. Opponent's going to take up Blast Zone. Or scry with Castle Vantress. Leaving one of their cards on top. No attacks. It's a mistake, should have attacked with Brazen Borer. Alright, well, let's go for a Glass Casket on the Augur of Bolus. threatening lethal. Shucks, Erasure. That is fine, I think. Because we will flicker a fate, our prison realm. Opponent is going to counter, and that is game. Because we still have more temporary removal in the form of Deputy of Detention. Exiling that Augur of Bolus and swinging for lethal with our team of weenies. Just getting in for enough damage to win the game. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe by clicking the Yoshi icon at the right of your screen. It doesn't cost you any mana, and it greatly helps to support this channel and keep the awesome videos coming.